What's up, Brigade? How are you? Welcome into a Fight Song Friday episode of the Bostonian versus the Book. My name is Matt Peralta. We are live on YouTube and X. We are replayed on Sports Grid Television. Audio podcasts are always available wherever you guys get your audio podcasts. Coming up on the program today, we got not one but two guests. We're going to talk to our guy, Chris Andrews from the South Point. We're going to stop in, talk about the NFL a little bit, what the NFL sent to the sports books that really was nothing about prop betting, and how the differences between Vegas and the rest of the country have never been more evident and obvious. So we'll talk to Chris about that. He's been around the game for a very long time. And then we'll get to week 11 of the NFL, what he's seeing at the South Point at the moment for games that are being bet for tomorrow's Saturday football and Sunday NFL football coming up for this weekend. It is a Friday. That means Nueby stops by. We'll talk about everything and anything that Nueby wants to talk about. I got a couple of topics I got to run by him that I want him to answer for us coming up for today's program. We will do the fight songs coming up. It's a big weekend in the SEC. I'm wearing my SEC shirt today. We'll get into all of that coming up for today, but we begin the program where you would think I would begin the program, with last night and the butt kicking the Patriots gave the Jets, because it consistently happens, and it happened again. It is the opening line being presented by Huel. The Patriots and the Jets, they play the same game. They're in the same league, technically, but they are not the same franchise. Not by any means. They are not the same franchise, and they are run completely and totally differently. More on that here in just 1 second. But first and foremost, our friends at Huel. If you guys haven't gone and checked out Huel, you should do so. What does a busy morning or a busy day look for you? Do not skip meals. Huel is a meal that can help you with your busy day. It's what I take in the morning. I just had one about 15 minutes ago. The Black Edition protein powder shakes. They are a meal. I have chocolate and vanilla. There are other flavors available. 200 or 400 calorie options, 400 grams of plant-based protein, 27 essential vitamins and minerals, no artificial sweeteners, gluten-free, vegan, and it is easy to prepare. Huel makes healthy eating simple. They also just launched their prepackaged in Target nationwide. Try Huel today with 15% off your first purchase with a minimum order of $75. Use the code BVB by going to Huel.com/BVB and make your order today. All right. If you are a Jet fan, you're not going to like this conversation. Heck, if you're a sports fan in the NFL, you're probably not going to like this conversation, because the Patriots are back. I know they were gone for 5 years, but they are back. And that's going to make the entire NFL annoyed, frustrated, whatever word you want to use to describe the fact that the Patriots, for the better part of 20 years, ran the NFL. No one went to more Super Bowls. No one won more Super Bowls. No one dominated the whole natural conversation about football than the Patriots did. You had Tom Brady. You had Bill Belichick. You had the best player-coach combination in the last, you can make an argument, ever, but in the last 30 years. So the Patriots got bad for a while. You know, they sucked for a bit. They had 4 wins in Belichick's last year. They had 4 wins in the first year and only year of Gerard Mayo. And the Jet fan could say, oh, we recognize that. We know what that's like. That's how we play. We hire clowns who can't coach. And we bring in, GMs and coach combinations that do not have the same goal. And they fight. And they draft the wrong player, and they sign the wrong veteran, and then they make knee-jerk reaction decisions. The Patriots were just like everybody else for about 4 years. And the Bills had a window. The Jets had a window. The Miami Dolphins had a window. And then the Patriots woke up and realized that they are the Patriots, and it's time to rebuild this properly. And the stars aligned. I like Drake Maye as a junior at North Carolina. I was writing different pieces for, at the time, Gambling Group about Heisman Trophy candidates, and I came across Drake Maye, and they had me cover North Carolina. I started writing a lot about Drake Maye while he was a junior, and made a bunch of bets on him as a junior, made a bunch of money on him as a junior. And then going into his senior year, he had a real big issue with the NCAA taking away Tez Walker, who was his number one wide receiver, and everything changed for that offense because he did not have the deep ball threat that we have seen with the Patriots. And so he dropped a bit. Going into his junior year, people were projecting number one pick potential, Heisman Trophy winning potential for Drake Maye. He never got there. But for the Patriots, maybe lucky that he never got there because everyone became enamored with Caleb Williams. It was all Caleb all the time. He's number one. Caleb's great. He should be the top pick in the draft. Fine. And Caleb hasn't been bad, having a great year with Ben Johnson and the Bears. But I think right now, if you were looking at the two and projecting the future, I think you would take Drake Maye over Caleb Williams if you were redrafting to see where we could go. Drake Maye is completely unassuming. He is just this 23-year-old wet behind the ears kid who has no real idea as to what is going on around him because it is everywhere now. I mean, everyone is talking about Drake Maye, maybe except for Drake Maye. In 11 starts this year, Drake Maye has over 2,500 passing yards, over 250 rushing yards, 20-plus touchdown passes, completing over 70% of his passes, and has won 80% or more of his games. Do you read the bottom of that, what that says? No other quarterback in the history of the NFL has put up those numbers over any span, 11 starts in a single regular season in the history of the league. He's doing things we've never seen before. Now, is he the MVP? Yeah, right now he is. Sure, he's the MVP. But Mike Vrabel is the coach of the year as well. The Patriots are 9-2 with a 23-year-old quarterback and a 50-year-old head coach. He's 50. Vrabel looks completely comfortable. And I think the story that's going to be told about this Patriots team in the next couple of months is just what exactly Mike Vrabel had to clean up and fix when he came into Foxborough and what he was able to do to restore the order, if you will, by going back to where the Patriots used to be. That is what the Jets have never been able to find. The Jets have never been able to find a head coach who could come in and stay. Rex Ryan was the close enough to that guy, but he wasn't really from the family. Mike Vrabel is from the family. The Jets have never really had a family because they've never really won. And winning breeds culture. Culture develops talent. And then the talent goes out and does big things. Mike Vrabel goes to become a coach at Ohio State, learns how to coach, learns how to be different than Bill Belichick, how to become a player's coach versus what Belichick was. He was an authoritarian. Do what I say because I'm saying to do it. Now, I'm sure Vrabel has a little bit of that in him, but because he played the game at the highest level and won 3 championships with the Patriots, everybody knows what Mike Vrabel is about. And then he goes and gets Josh McDaniels to come back for another ride to take his young quarterback, put him under his wing, and develop an offense that looks insane. When the Patriots do not complete a pass down the field, I am surprised that it was not completed. Like, that's how crazy this offense is. When he throws a 30-yard bomb, I'm stunned when it's not brought in. And he does not have like an incredible wide receiver crew. Matt Collins had the ball in his hands for a deep ball last night that got stripped away at the last second by the DB. Good play by the Jets. But like, those throws look easy. It's effortless the way that you see a offense that Mac Jones for a little bit showed signs of this, of the deep ball touch. But the difference is that Mac wasn't athletic enough to get away from any rushes, Drake Maye can run the football. When the pocket collapses, Drake Maye knows how to run and where to run. It is so rare that you could dream up an ideal situation for a quarterback, an offensive coordinator, a head coach, and it works. I mean, how often do we do dream team? How often do we do like hypothetical trades and conversations about building rosters? And you're like, oh, get this coach and get that guy together and look what's going to happen. It's all going to work. And then it never works. This works. I don't know how it works, but it works for the Patriots. It works right now. They're 9-2. And here is the crazy thing about the 9-2 record for the Patriots. It's that their schedule is ridiculously easy. It is ridiculously easy the rest of the way. In fact, we are going to be all stunned if the Patriots aren't in. I'm going to say it. They'll have one home game, if not two. Why? Look at the standings. The Patriots are 9-2. The Buffalo Bills are playing the Tampa Bay Bucks on Sunday, and I'm not so sure they're going to beat the Bucks at home on Sunday. On your right is the Patriots schedule. So you have the Steelers at 5-4. Get out of here. Not worried about Pittsburgh Steelers. The Ravens are 4-5, but they have 5 losses. So for the 1 seed conversation, I'm not listening to the Ravens. The Colts are 8-2, and the Broncos are 8-2. Now the Patriots are 9-2. So that's the race, right? I do not believe Kansas City at 5-4, okay, will be in the running for the number 1 seed, given their schedule. More on them in a second, but let's just take them out. The 7-3 Chargers are the sneaky dark horse potential, but given the division, I'm going to say that you got to take the Chargers out of it because I think their schedule is very difficult as well. So let's look at the teams, the Broncos and the Colts, who are both 8-2, competing with the Patriots for the number 1 seed. The Patriots play at the Bengals next week. They're going to be big favorites in that game. Then the Giants come back to New England on December the 1st. It would be somewhat stunning if the Patriots were not 11-2. 11-2. Okay. Again, I'm going to go back to the people who told me I was insane that the Patriots couldn't be the 1 seed. And I said that after week 4. Okay. After week 4, I was talking about the Patriots being the number 1 seed. So it was possible. People thought I was crazy. I said, look at the schedule. Schedule is a joke. The Bills at home is a tough game. At Baltimore is a tough game. 100%. Let's just say they lose both those games. If they win the rest of them, that's a 14-4 season, or 14-3 season. Sorry. So let's just say it would be 13-4. 13-4. Is 13-4 good enough to be the 1 seed? I mean, they're beating the Jets at the Jets. They're beating Miami at home. So who's in competition? Who could catch them? Well, here are your schedules. Here are the Bills. The Bills play Tampa, at Houston, at Pittsburgh. Good luck. Home for the Bengals, W. At the Patriots, which is, we'll see how that plays out, but Patriots already beat them at Buffalo. Cleveland's a win. Philly and New York. Now, I don't know if Philly needs that game. We know New York's is a gift, but what about Philadelphia? We know that Tampa needs the game on Sunday. We know Houston needs the game next week after that, and then Pittsburgh needs the game for sure, and we know Philadelphia. That could be 4 losses for the Bills. The AFC East race is pretty much over. Like, unless Drake Maye gets hurt, it's pretty much over. But what about the 1 seed? Look at the Colts schedule. The Colts play the Chiefs, the Texans, the Seahawks on the road, and the 49ers, and they end the year at Houston. Like, that Colts schedule, how many wins are the Colts going to wind up with? How many losses is there? I got 4 for Indianapolis in those games coming out of their bye week. And then the Broncos play the Chiefs this weekend, then a bye. They got to play Green Bay at home. Washington and Vegas are W's. They play at Kansas City and at home against the LA Chargers in a game that both those teams might need. That could be 3 losses for the Broncos. Then they have 5 losses. Like, if you're looking at the Patriots in the entire AFC playoffs may run through New England. And I'm not saying the Patriots are going to the Super Bowl. And I'm not saying the Patriots can't be beaten at home by the Chiefs, the Bills, the Broncos. Yes, all those teams can go into Foxborough and beat this Patriots team. They're not unbeatable. But the comparison to where the Jets are to where the Patriots are with first-year head coaches and the decisions that are made in New England versus what's been made in New York by Woody Johnson is incredible. If I was a Jet fan, I'd be literally giving up my fandom today after what happened yesterday, watching Justin Fields play in that game. I would say forget it. I'm not a Jet fan anymore because that's a first-year head coach with a second-year quarterback with rookies all over the place. Rookie left tackle, rookie running back. These are all newbies in the NFL, and they just pushed on the 13 last night as being 13-point favorites. It's the 14th time the Patriots have been a double-digit favorite over the Jets over the last 20 years, and they covered a 12.5-point number. It closed at 13, and it pushed. Like, if you're a Jet fan, you have to just wake up this morning and go, how? How can my franchise be this bad and our arch rival gets it right after a 4-year little window where the team was bad? Okay, fine. Like, you got your 4-year window and the Jets are going nowhere. Aaron Glenn's got 2 wins. Your quarterback situation is a dumpster fire. Justin Fields should not play another down for the Jets the rest of the season. He cannot play the position. It's over for Justin Fields. Done. Sorry. I've liked the kid a lot. I wanted him to be successful. It hasn't worked anywhere where he has been. And it's not just the fact that, oh, it's no Garrett Wilson and whatnot. No, it's beyond that. It's just not working. If you're a Patriot fan, you're in love with where the team is. If you're a Jet fan, you're where you have been for a very long time. You've stunk. Ross says, you know why all the trees in Vermont lean south? Because New York sucks. I'll give it to you, bud. I'll give it to you. Jets sucks. Yes, they are absolutely god-awful. Let's bring on our guy. He is the one and only Chris Andrews from the South Point here on Bostonian versus the Book. How are you, sir? Great to see you.
I'm doing good. I love that rant. That was great.
In terms of last night for you guys, the Patriots covering a 12.5-point number, was it good for you guys, or would you rather see the Jets find a way to cover that number?
No, well, the 13 was just bad. You know, we went back and forth. You know, we opened 11.5. We went to 13 eventually. They took the 13, laid back the 12.5. So 13 was a bad number for us. But, you know, I mean, what are you going to do? You lick your wounds and come out firing the next day. You know, I got to say one thing, though, before we go on. When the Steelers drafted Mike Vrabel, I was so happy because I love this guy coming out of college. And I'm a Penn State guy. I hate Ohio State. But I thought, oh, my God, this kid is fantastic. I think he played a year, maybe 2, and they cut him. And I remember thinking, what are they doing? This is insane. Went to New England, had a fantastic career. I forget which Super Bowl it was, but he should have been the MVP. They gave it to Brady, of course. But I remember I was a Golden Nugget, and I was with Nick Bogdanovich at the time. I said, Vrabel, first of all, he caught a touchdown. He had an interception. He had a sack. He forced a fumble and recovered a fumble. How's that not the end? Oh, right. I know, because it's Brady.
It's
that's
Brady,
why.
yes.
But he should have been the
media's
MVP.
Lazy, that's why. Because the media is just downright lazy and just needs to go ahead and give it to Brady.
Absolutely should have been the MVP. And then when Tennessee fired him, I mean, you got to remember, he took that Tennessee team to the AFC Championship
as a 1 seed. They had the 1 seed.
I mean, you know, and I don't know what we really haven't even discussed talking points, but you know, you just look at these franchises that are just mired in mediocrity would be a compliment. You know, the Jets, I mean, it starts at the top. Woody Johnson, bad decision after one another. You know, Tennessee, I know they changed ownership, you know, but you know, again, just horrible decisions. Whereas New England, and believe me, I'm no New England fan either, but you got to give Robert Kraft credit. You know, I mean, he hired the right guy with Belichick. You know, they found Brady. You know, he made you know, whoever was in charge, and I know a lot of it was Belichick. They made a ton of good moves, and they had a couple of down years. I mean, they did. I mean, listen, that's sports. But boy, they found the right guy in Vrabel. Looks like they found the right quarterback. Looks like they found a good roster to build around. And I've been saying this for a couple of years now. The parity in the NFL is an illusion. From one year to the next, it is. 1 year to the next, there is some parity. Well, you look at New England had such an easy schedule this year, because they finished so poorly last year. So in that sense, it is. But you take like a long slice of time, like 20 years, let's say. Well, how good's New England been for 20 years? There's no parity there. How terrible have the Jets been? Is that your parity? You're going to go for that for your argument? And again, we can go up and down different rosters. Detroit, for years was mired in, like I said, mediocrity would be a compliment. But then they found the right guy. Now all of a sudden they look like they're going to be pretty good. But for how long were they bad?
Right.
And I think there's a lot. Again, the Steelers have been they've been a little mired in mediocrity, to be honest with you. But still, it's a good franchise. I'm going to keep rooting for them. I hope they turn some things around. But over the course of years, some teams are consistently good and some teams are just consistently bad.
Yeah. But look, the Steelers have had, in my lifetime, they've had 3 coaches. I'm 48 years old. Like, the Steelers are willing to say, we've made a decision for somebody. And maybe you go 8-9 1 year, but we're not going to go and knee jerk it and blow it up. It's more level-headed, calm, rational decision-making that's done by certain franchises, and others that just constantly have this revolving door of firing coaches and changing culture and trying to find the right fit. And that's kind of, looking at sports today, you can't really do that. You have to make a decision and believe in a guy and let the team get built around him and then see what happens. And Pittsburgh's done that. I know, there's fans in Pittsburgh that are mad that Mike Tomlin hasn't gone and done more than since Roethlisberger's left. There's a lot of frustration in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
But the guy still wins. I mean, maybe not enough, but he still wins, Chris.
Yeah. And Matt, I'm going to go back before you were born, probably. But if you look at Chuck Noll's first couple years, they were terrible. I mean, they had one year where they were 1-13. That's how they wound up with me. Well, that's how they wound up with Terry Bradshaw. Then when you look at Bradshaw's first 2 years, compare him to Ryan Leaf. It's almost identical. It's almost identical. But again, they felt they had the right guy, and they stuck with him. They felt they had the right guy, obviously with Bradshaw, and then with Chuck Noll too. But if you're gonna I don't think that would happen in this day and age. Well, it might with the Steelers because it's the Rooney family. But can you imagine that in, let's say, Tennessee, or let's say in the Jets? Let's say there's no chance that happens. And here Chuck Noll walked away with 4 Super Bowl trophies, as did Bradshaw. And some you just, like you said, you have to believe in that guy. Excuse me. And if you think you have the right guy, build around him.
Yeah. You're the perfect man to ask this question to, because the NFL yesterday sent out this memo to everybody about what they want from a prop betting perspective. And I know Vegas is very different than the rest of the country, but basically, saying you can't do this predetermined one play stuff where a kicker misses a field goal or a quarterback has the first pass to be incomplete. I'm just curious, through your eyes, watching the industry and watching how things have gone, and now with the scandals, and now the NFL and Major League Baseball trying to dictate what should and should not be allowed for betting. How do you feel about where we are right now? How do you see the industry with what's going on?
It was funny. Last night I had dinner with 2 Hall of Famers, Roxy Roxborough, Vic Salerno. Yesterday afternoon I had lunch. Well, there were 6 of us, including a couple Hall of Famers and one, I'm not going to mention his name, but probably the biggest bookmaker in the world. Most, he's out of Caribbean. And a couple other guys too. So a bunch of old salts like us. Nick Bogdanovich was there, Vinny was there, Jeff Whiteloff, him.
Yep.
A couple other. Anyway, this is all on these kids, these bros who are running these joints right now. They have no idea how this business works long term. They're looking to do get handle. I don't know if you can see me this big,
Yeah.
they don't know how to properly manage it. They have some kind of mantra from ownership. I think that probably we want as much handle as we can. So taking these idiotic bets, like this guy, like I said, the one guy was the biggest bookmaker in the world. I said, "Do you take any of that?" Hell no. No, I don't take that. And I think Todd Dewey quoted me. He asked me one, and my answer right away was, "Hell no." I mean, it's just stupid, and like I said, you got these kids, and I remember last year at about this time, we started, it was probably by mid-October, I would say. We started off, we were killing them as bookmakers. We were killing them.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw these kids on, Twitter and various, social media. Hey, man, it's like, we figured this out. You old bastards, you don't know what, And I remember sitting there with Vinny and Jimmy Vaccaro saying, I wish these guys would shut up because we know the comeuppance is right around the corner. And we finished with the worst NFL season and I've been doing this since 1979. I think it was my second worst NFL season that I've ever had.
Wow.
It just comes and goes. That's just the way this business works. But these kids, they're cocky with they got a lot of stuff going for them. They do, but they have a lot of stupidity and there's brains, Matt, and then there's wisdom. So these kids are smart. They probably have an IQ a lot higher than mine, but do they have the wisdom? No. And I've been doing this, and I've been doing this since '79. I got interviewed by Michael Lewis, who wrote, Moneyball and he has a whole bunch of books. And actually, there's a podcast with me on it. And I mentioned in the podcast, one of these guys told me, he says, your business model is not sustainable. This is not sustainable. I've been doing this since the 70s. That's 6 decades. What am I doing? I says,
right.
the airlines have needed bailed out. The car companies have needed bailed out. The banks have needed bailed out. Insurance companies have needed bailed out. Bookmakers haven't needed bailed out. Well, we've been around for a long time. So, I mean, and it's, it's really insulting in some ways, but part of us, I'd look back and laugh and I think who's taking these stupid bets or like, on, guys coming off the bench in the NBA and they're taking like, 25, 30,000 on, over and under. Are you crazy? Well, like I said, are they smart? Yeah. Do they have wisdom? Hell no, they do not.
Yeah, I always wondered, when you look at the new markets and the new menus that have come out, and like I want to feel bad for the bookmakers when somebody pulls an illegal job, an Emmanuel Clase, Luis Ortiz situation, where that they have something of inside knowledge and they're paying the guy to do it, and so they're going to guarantee to win. But why are you taking enough of a bet where you could be having a $400,000 liability on one pitch? It just doesn't seem logical. Well, I know the book menu's huge, but it just doesn't seem logical to have that liability on that one moment.
Well, it is completely illogical unless they're in on it. And
okay, that's a good point.
That's a suspicion that some of us have had. Why would you take that? I mean, it is illogical, Matt. You're not wrong. It is illogical unless you're part of the scam. Then you say, then you go to tell your boss, hey, you told us to beef up the handle. We were taking these bets and, I'm not going to tell the guy, oh, by the way, I was cut in for half or 20% or whatever the hell it is, but I think that's possible. I can't make that accusation. I mean, I'm not an investigator, but I mean, but I can smell a rat when it's right under my nose. I can tell you that. So
that's a great point. I didn't think about that. Is hey, you know what happens if they were able to get to a Major League Baseball pitcher? Why couldn't they get to a bookmaker? That's true. That seems to be kind of crazy. All right, on to this weekend a little bit. Well, what are you guys seeing from an action standpoint? Because every book is different, and you guys have different players and other players. Are they betting the international game? Because it's an interesting piece. Last week it was bet heavily at certain books. This week it feels like no one cares about the Commanders and the Dolphins. You guys seeing much from a handle?
Yes, but I don't think it's the intrigue of this great matchup. I think it's a fact, and we don't juice numbers, so we go back 2.5, 3, 2.5, 3. with everything's at 11-10, so anybody wanting to take the Dolphins, we have the best number in town. Once we go to 3, guess what? Then we have the best number in town on the Commanders. So they take it. There's 2.5 threes. And I always laugh. Listen, it's been good for us. It's been a good strategy for us over the years, but the game does land 3. I mean, it hurts, but there's nothing like, Michael Gaughan can't say anything to me. He's the one that wants me to do this, so, kind of takes the pressure off in that sense. I don't want to lose. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But it's worked out well for us. But, these kind of games, we do a ton of handle just between the 2.5 and the 3. And like I said, a lot of guys say, "Oh, it's the last 3 I'm ever going to see in my life," or "It's the last 2.5 I'm ever going to see in my life." Yeah, until later in the day, this is that same thing.
So
but that's the way it works.
Your property is always the first one that the California folks come and see. So I'm always interested about when you have a big game like the Seahawks and the Rams.
Yeah,
how big of a handle is it? Could that be the most heavily bet game of the weekend for you guys?
Well, no, because you got the Lions and the Eagles in the Sunday night slot. But yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that. I think when we're looking at Seahawks, Rams, Lions, Eagles, that looks like the NFC Final Four to me. I don't know who's going to be in what position. Obviously, one of them is going to be a wild card, at least one. But I think that's going to be the NFC Final Four, barring some sort of upset. So, both those numbers are right around that 3 too. So we're going to do a ton of business on both those games. I got a couple other games up and down the menu where like nobody knows they're playing hardly.
Right.
But those 2 games are going to do a ton of business, ton of it.
Yeah. It looks like that. What about San Fran and Arizona? Just given the West Coast angle and the NFC West is going on the same time as the Rams and the Seahawks. You see much handle action from that?
Yeah, we got a lot of good business there too. We get a lot of Arizona people here, and probably in the whole town, but we certainly get it here at the South Point. That's another game, and with Purdy now going to be in the starting lineup, we got a little bit of Niner money, and personally, I think Arizona is better off with Brissett at quarterback, and it's a pretty good team overall. They just seem they seem to be missing, for a long time. They've had some really good years, but overall, that's not a franchise that I don't think has done exceptionally well. But we get a lot of Arizona money. We get Niner money too. A lot of people come in from the Bay Area, come into Las Vegas. So that's another really good handle game. And we only got, what do we got? 1, 2, we got 4 games in the late window. So we'll do a lot of business on that game as well.
Chris, we'll wrap with this. When I moved here, there was this dream of a professional football team moving to Las Vegas and us having a Monday night football game. The Dallas Cowboys are coming to Vegas on Monday night to take on the Raiders. I'm guessing that's going to be a big game. People are going to want to bet it and probably bet against the Raiders and you guys probably going to need Vegas, the home team, on Monday night.
Probably, yeah, because we get a lot of Texas people come to this town too. Of course, they fly in, and you never have to go begging for Cowboy money. I can tell you that. But we got a lot of Raider fans here, and that's right around another key number. That so far though, some of the sharp money's wound up on Vegas in that game.
Wow,
I'm not sure why. Who knows? I'm not sure why, but nonetheless, it has. Maybe they see Kenny Pickett as a step up from Geno Smith. I'm not sure, but we'll have plenty of money on that game. And by the way, when I came to town, I never dreamt there'd be a team in Las Vegas. Obviously I'm a lot older than you, but I have to say I've been fortunate enough. I've gone to one of the Monday night games in Las Vegas. It's kind of fun. I don't get to go to too many games. So I'm usually here working, but I got to go to God, I can't remember now. I think it was Monday night. It might have been a Thursday night. I can't remember. But Steelers and the Raiders was pretty good game.
Very good. Chris, you're the best. Thank you for the time. Appreciate it. Have a great weekend.
Okay, you too, pal. Good talking to you. Bye-bye, man.
That is Chris Andrews, the one and only from the South Point here in Las Vegas. If you guys are coming to town, if you haven't gone and seen Chris, what are you doing? You got to go see Chris. You got to go see Chris. Go bet at his book. It's old school Vegas. So Vegas was, is, and should be. Is how I like to call it. So on that, good stuff with Chris. All right, it's time for a Fight Song Friday, boys and girls. Let's get into it here. Big games all over the place. All right, there's really like 4 big games to get into here for this weekend. And Alabama and Oklahoma will have my attention tomorrow. I'm really curious to see how this game goes because Kellen DeBoer, this dude doesn't lose. He doesn't lose this game. It's a big game. We can play both fight songs for you guys. That's old school and real old school. I've seen both these teams. I've been to both stadiums. I know both fan bases. This is great. The fact this is a conference game is weird because the first time Alabama played Oklahoma, I was there. I was covering Alabama. They went to Norman in a huge non-conference game in which the Alabama fans showed up a week before the game. And Oklahoma people couldn't figure out what to do with their RVs because they were showing up so early for the game. Oklahoma won that game. Alabama was in their mediocrity stage before Nick Saban showed up and changed everything. But now Kellen DeBoer in big games against ranked teams, I think you lay it with Alabama. I really do. I think Bama gets it done here at home. I don't like this offense for Oklahoma. The Bama defense is starting to play much better, and I really do think that Ty Simpson is going to be the Heisman Trophy winner at the end of the day. I think he's the guy that winds up winning the Heisman, and this could go a long way. Beating Oklahoma at home, taking care of business, and putting Alabama in a very good position to wind up going to the SEC championship game. Look, you lose to Florida State in week number 1. The sky is falling. Everything's a mess. Everybody's wondering about Kellen DeBoer, including me. And what ends up happening? Alabama just resurrects everything. They turn the table. They can run the ball again. Ty Simpson's incredibly accurate. The wide receivers are incredibly tough. And the defense for Bama has gotten progressively better as the season has progressed. I think it's Bama. I'll lay it with Alabama here coming up at home against Oklahoma, simply because that Oklahoma offense just has not been the same since the hand injury to John Mateer, who could have won the Heisman. If it wasn't for the broken thumb, he probably wins the Heisman Trophy. We got more massive games, including Georgia at home. I'll be fair. We'll play them both. That's not right. Where's that? I played the wrong one. This is the one. Texas on the road at Georgia. Give me Uga. Uga at home. I don't like Texas. I haven't liked their offense. I've bet against them. Sometimes I've won. Sometimes I've lost. They've been so topsy-turvy. They've been so up and down. But I think this Georgia team at home, look, they don't lose in Athens. They don't lose between the hedges. And I cannot trust this Texas offense to go on the road and beat Georgia at Georgia. Over is a good look. Okay, high-scoring game. I'm with you. But I think this Georgia offense is going to be able to move the ball on Texas. And at home, under a touchdown, Georgia and Bama appear to be on a pretty big collision course here between the two. It feels like that's your SEC championship game here. Georgia at home laying less than a touchdown. I think that's the side to go ahead and run in on. Notre Dame is on the road at number 22 Pitt. You want to lay this with the Irish? This feels heavy. This feels like a heavy number. I'm not sure I'm comfortable doing this with the Irish. I do think Notre Dame wins the game. I do think the Irish are going to be in the playoffs, but I think the Irish on the road against Pitt, this Pitt offense isn't bad at all. And again, this is like the ACC schedule for Notre Dame. I think this is too many points. I think the Irish wind up winning this game, but if I was going to bet this game, I think you go ahead and take Pitt. Had to hang around with the Irish and to lose the game by 10 or less. I like Notre Dame. I don't like the number. I think it's a little bit too heavy for me when it comes up on that. One more game on a Fight Song Friday. And Zach, you're exactly right about A&M and Georgia having a say about Alabama and Georgia in the championship game. Absolutely. More on that here in just 1 second. We'll talk about that in a second. But I was on the road against USC. Call me crazy on this, but like I just mentioned, I don't like Notre Dame laying points on the road. I like Alabama at home. I like Georgia at home. I like USC at home. I know this Hawkeye team defensively, they're very good, but offensively, they are so inept, and USC doesn't lose in California. I know it's a square narrative. I know it's a boring narrative. It's not fun. It's not sexy. I just think USC's got too much offense. I think their quarterback play, their wide receiver play is going to be a really big problem, and I don't think Iowa scores enough to keep up with USC. If Iowa were at home, I think it goes very similar to how what happened. I was on Iowa last week against Oregon. They lost the game, but they easily covered the number. I think the same thing's going on here with USC laying 6.5. Again, less than a touchdown. Sorry, Whitrock. I know you love your Hawkeyes. I just don't think they travel to California and go out there in the weather and actually sit there and say, yes, taking the under. It's not a horrible play, Garby, to look at a low scoring game for Iowa and USC, because how many points is Iowa going to score? Like, that's the problem with the Hawkeyes is their offense is just awful, and their offense has been awful for a really long time. Total for this game is 48.5. That is extremely high for an Iowa game. 48.5 is really high. USC is 4-1 to the over at home this year. Iowa is 1-2 to the or 2-1 to the under this year. But USC at home is 4-1 ATS. Iowa is 2-0-1 ATS on the road, but their road games were at Iowa State, where it pushed, at Rutgers, where they won by 10, and at Wisconsin, where they won by 37. They haven't gone to the Pacific time zone yet. Okay. Now they're going west. Now they're going to California, and they got a really big problem on their hands with this offense for USC. I feel more comfortable laying the 6.5 than I do going ahead and taking an underplay, because if USC scores 30, Iowa could score 21 points. They could score 3 touchdowns on USC's defense, and the game goes over. So I would be a little bit crazy. You've heard weather. Okay. Rain game. Have to watch and see. Southern Cal. Well, Nueby is there, so maybe we can ask him about the weather report on this as to what we're going to see for USC and Iowa. But I would be careful with the weather. If you're going to play a weather angle with rain, shouldn't bother the boys from Southern California all that much. They should be able to take care of business relatively easily coming up here with that. So I like USC laying 6.5. It's kind of crazy. I will answer that. J. Treasy, am I going to watch the Islam fight? Yes, 100%. We'll do some USC stuff during bonus time about UFC, 323? Coming up on Saturday. Card's awesome. Card is absolutely flipping awesome. Let's talk to our guy, Nueby.
Nueby. Or not Nueby.
What's up, dude? How are you?
Wow. We even get an intro to the segment. Wow, that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. How we doing? I missed you last week, buddy. How are things on the East Coast?
Things are good on the East Coast. I'm headed there in 10 days, so I'm going back out for Thanksgiving. So It's different, obviously. It's the
I'm
foliage.
heading
And
back for Thanksgiving as well. So,
there you
you and
go.
I will both be on the East Coast. We're traveling at the same time.
Let's pray that the airlines get us there because it's been a interesting experience.
It's either been completely hit or miss. Like we've been fine, we've been not fine, but I don't know. Hopefully the worst is behind us, Matt. I guess time will tell.
Yeah, hopefully that is the case. What did you make of my Patriots last night?
I mean, I'm not. A lot of people are saying, I'm like anti-Patriots. I'm not anti-Patriots at all. You play who's in front of you, right? I mean, you've heard it, you've seen it all over Twitter. That's the one knock if you could make on the Patriots team is the strength.
It's not even a knock, Nueby. It's the truth. That's just the truth.
But here's the thing, Matt, is they are doing what they are supposed to do to these teams, and regardless whether you're saying it's bad competition that they're playing or not. The one thing that you can't debate is they're ahead of schedule on this rebuild. You know what I mean? Like that. That's the 100%. One that is completely undebatable. The other thing that's completely undebatable is Drake Maye really looks like a terrific quarterback. I'd like to see him against some more stout defenses, but things like the composure on 3rd and 4th downs, those are things that whether it's a bad team, whether it's not, it's an NFL football team, and there's spots where you just watch Drake Maye and you say, this dude. I wasn't sure about him coming out of college. He has really grown into himself. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that you couldn't do better than a hire than Vrabel. I don't understand how he didn't have a job before that. Maybe he was the one who was waiting out for that Patriots job because not only does he have that quarterback humming, he also is the king of getting people with chips on their shoulder and getting the most out of them. And that's why the Patriots defense is better. If you look at the Patriots defense talent-wise, it's dudes that they picked off of the trash heap for most of the. But if you have NFL talents, regardless, that can buy in, I keep trying to detract from the Patriots. I think we'll see. Come playoff time, the whole stagger strength of schedule thing. They're one of I think 2 teams in NFL history since they've been tracking DVOA who's sitting with a negative DVOA with a 9-2 record now, but. The record speaks for itself, man. They're taking care of business. So you have to be excited, right?
Oh, I mean, I think they have a legitimate chance at winning the division and potentially getting the 1 seed. I
completely agree.
Those are crazy things. I mean, their schedule is a joke. I mean, they have 2 tough games left this year. That's it. No. Everything else, the next 2 games, they should be 11-2. They're going to the Bengals and the Giants are going to Foxborough. Then they have their bye week in week 14, which actually works out right. It works out perfectly for them to get their feet underneath them before they play a couple of tough games. They got to see the Ravens, which are not going to be easy. And they'll play the Bills right after the bye week. They play the Bills and the Ravens. That's a really hard 2-week stretch. But they could be 11-2 sitting there with the Bills. And they could have, depending on what happens today, the Bills' schedule is not easy at all. They could lose Sunday. They could lose to the Bucks.
If the Bills don't get this win on Sunday, I mean, nothing is a lock, nothing is guaranteed, obviously. But you're feeling really nice, and that's honestly partially why I think I'm going to be betting on the Bills. They're one of my circa picks, but the win last night put the pressure on for the Buffalo Bills right now. You know what I mean? Like there isn't a chance. This was already a potential, circle the wagons game for them. And we know no one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. But now the fact that they continue to see the Patriots take care of business in the fashion in which they take care of business, the next man up that they've been able to do in that backfield. Travion Henderson the first week looked terrible in pass protection. Now he's getting his feet under him, man. What he's able to do in space. So I think there's going to be a lot of motivation for the Bills this Sunday. So that, we got it at 5.5 in the circa contest. I think you got a touchdown win coming for them on Sunday. If they don't, they got to be very pumped up. Oh yeah.
Everyone's loving the lid.
I mean, the gear from the PLL is objectively cool stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it's an objectively cool hat, whether you're into the lacrosse or not. They do a good job with their gear. But
the Utah champion.
Utah Archers, 2-time
champion. Two-time champion? Back-to-back?
Back-to-back. Yeah, they went back-to-back. And then this year, they didn't even make the playoffs. So figure that out.
All topics, because you're part of social media, so you've seen this. Is it fair or is it foul that Patriot fans are deciding that they're going to go into Drake Maye's wife's TikTok and Instagram comments to thank her for her husband's dominant of the NFL? Is it okay to do it on social media, or should you leave the wives alone?
I mean, at least they're not going into her comments to drag and be like, yo, this guy sucks. You know what I mean? Like there's two sides of each of the coin, and it is social media. She doesn't have a private page. It is open. She is a public figure. And True. She, for what it's worth, even before Drake Maye had a popular page of her own. So no, strangers on the internet will always be weird, right? But winning sports fans in your comments, there are much worse things in the world. So, is it a little bit strange? Sure, maybe, but I think it's a fair play. And honestly, I bet you she's just happy about the engagement. The algorithm doesn't know it's all Patriots fan bending the knee to Drake Maye. All they know is engagement. Keep those TikTok numbers going up, baby.
It's true. Like whenever I tag my girlfriend who lives in New Hampshire, I'll tag her on certain posts. Like she gets friend requests from like because her page is private. Yes. So she gets friend requests from all sorts of like creepy dudes. And she's like, do you know this person? Do you know that person? I'm like, no. I don't know any of these people.
I'm pretty sure that guy who just tried to add you has ripped me when I've gone, on a
100%
on the Daily Juice.
Yes. I'm like, leave them alone. Don't say yes. They're just targeting you for whatever reason. Like, yeah.
But again, like if anything, you get the engagement, and that's terrific for her. I'm sure that if she had a problem with it, she would probably have Drake at least say something, tweet something out or whatever. It's all in good fun, and you know how it is, man. You went through the dreck. You've had the highest highs, the best dynasty that ever has been in the NFL. You've gone through the lows as well. When your team is winning, you're gonna comment anywhere you can to scream from the rooftops, dude, we're 9-2. So
and I guess she's making this apple cobbler dessert for the team that's become like this good luck charm type thing. So everyone's telling her to please keep making the apple crisp.
Dude, if you told me every time we win we get an apple crisp, I would go 100-0. I will give you all that I have if I'm getting an apple crisp a la mode right when we're done. I can guarantee
that. And one more, and then we'll get to the game this weekend. In 1995, the world became stunned by a caricature story by Pixar. They made everybody stop and go, oh my God, I'm an adult or I'm a kid, but I don't know which I am. When I'm watching Toy Story, I don't know which I am because it is nostalgic, but it's current. It's really cool. It's well written. It's voices that I trust. It's voices that I know, and Tom Hanks, and we know all the story. Yesterday, they made the announcement that Toy Story 5 is coming out, Nueby. 5. I thought 3 was the perfect ending. I didn't like 4. Are you down with Toy Story 5?
So you laid it out there perfectly, Matt, because there was no need for any Toy Story after Toy Story 3. Toy Story 3, and it wouldn't have been there without the 2 that preceded it. It was the perfect Pixar film. I would argue it was the best Pixar film ever made because the time that it came out also for me was when I was heading to college. Like I was a senior in high school crying in a theater over a children's movie. You know what I mean? Like it was just so poignant. It was so great. It was so terrific. So I would argue the 4th didn't have to happen. And the nieces and nephews, they watched it. It was fine. It just
right. It's what it was. It was just fine. It was just kept going. It was just kept going to make money. Like you could tell it was a money grab. It didn't really do much for the story.
There is no need for a Toy Story 5. There was no need for a Toy Story 4. The trilogy was absolutely
let me interject 1 second because does it change your opinion at all when you find out that the evil villain of Toy Story 5 is an iPad?
That's exactly where I was going to say is there's no need for this film to be made until I read the synopsis of what it is.
Right.
And you talk about why I love the 3rd one was because of the poignancy, because of the time of time that it was released, that it was put out. I think as I'm, heading into hopefully soon, being a father myself and I see the nieces and nephews in a time where technology has just become an extension of ourselves. Like these stupid things we have in our hands are extensions of ourselves at this point. I'm actually intrigued to kind of see what the narrative is by a children's movie going head to head with technology being the evil, which sometimes I agree with that. Sometimes I'm like, how the hell am I so addicted to just keep on scrolling, to keep on watching, the pacifier at the table when you're out at dinner.
It's bad enough that we do it, but when the kids have my daughter's iPad is stuck on her hip. And so she does.
I thought
all
it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I thought it was stupid. And then I read the synopsis and I was like, shit, I'm going to be watching Toy Story 5, aren't I?
I'd watch it anyway. Regardless, I would watch it. But yeah. I think I just, when I saw that the iPad is the villain of it, I went, huh? Because I texted it to my daughter this morning and she was like, why are we doing Toy Story 5? And I said, the iPad is the villain. And she goes, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah,
so
intriguing.
She's heard me go on that. So that's Toy Story 5. All right. By the way, Kelsey wants to say hello to you. So she's Kelsey's in the chat. Good to see you, Kelsey.
Let's go, Kels.
So you mentioned that you're using the Bills as one of your circuit plays. What else do you like on Sunday?
So I'll tell you what, Matt. I don't know if you agree. This is a tough weekend. Like even in that game,
stupid hard week to bet. Even Survivor and circuit plays. Good luck. It's so hard.
Yeah, picking 5 plays. I could maybe pick 2 plays that I'm actually going to be betting with my own money. The Bills is likely going to be one of those. But even when you look at last night, like I wanted to bet the Patriots, but on Thursday Night Football, I'm not laying 13.5. Sure, it would have been safe. You would have cashed with it, but so many unbettable things on the board. One that I think, I get it. The spread is what it is for a reason. We're looking at this Green Bay and New York Giants game. We're looking at 7, some 7.5s out there, but it's basically 7 if you want to go out there and get it. But why are we making Green Bay a 7-point favorite? I know Dable was just fired. I know it's Jameis Winston, but you get the dead cat bounce, and I don't know what it's like 20-14 against the spread, I think, since 2010.
And you're fading the Packers. You're fading the Packers in November, which has been a very good bet with the way that LaFleur has played. And I think the questions about Matt LaFleur going forward are real. And I think you see that him and Brian Gutekunst, the general manager, they're tied. Their contracts both expire at the end of next year. They have not given either one of those guys an extension. And losing in back-to-back games to the Panthers was really ugly. Your Eagles team was a game that, fine, it's the Eagles, but they didn't look good. Packers looked horrible in that football game. It's 7.5 at most books. I think the Giants are the play. Take the 7.5.
Yeah, I'm doing the same exact thing. So that's why I'm glad that I waited. We have 7 in the contest, but I'm going to be taking that 7.5. Because also one thing that I think that's getting lost in the whole Dable saga and everything, and Jameis Winston versus Russell Wilson, Mike Kafka, who's going to be the interim head coach, he was interviewing for NFL head coaching jobs this last cycle. This is a guy who, you talk about how much motivation do the Giants have left, this, that, and the other thing. There is a guy who will be auditioning for a head coach job. And if it is not this one in New York with all the talent that they have, this is an attractive job, believe it or not, with that defensive talent they have and how good or at least serviceable Jackson Dart has looked. Mike Kafka is a really good head coach.
That's the best job. I saw somebody say this a couple of days ago. Like the Giants job, given the talent they have coming back next year, is like the best head coaching opening we've seen in the last 10 years. Given what they have, it's New York for one thing. You have a proven a rookie coach, a quarterback going into his second year. You have a running back in Cam Scottaboo who is a fan favorite in a bruiser. Malik Neighbors is one of the most exciting wide receivers in the entire game, and they've got multiple defensive players that make you go, okay, that defense can eat someone. So I think whoever gets the job will have a lot of pieces to play with.
1,000%. And I think, again, Kafka could be that guy auditioning for that job. So I like this a little bit. I like this a lot, enough to bet it here, but I also think the Giants could kind of be a sneaky bet on team the rest of the way. They're not in a position because of the talent that they have to tank and have a great pick. This is going to be a team that will be competitive largely thanks to that defensive line they have up front, and they have a potential defensive player of the year in Burns on that defensive line. I like the Giants not only this week, but moving forward there a little bit. But outside of that and the Bills, those are really the only 2 that I'm actually going to be betting with my own money. We're going back to the well on Jacksonville. Disgusting. Gross.
Hold on. Time out. hold on. Pause that thought. I'm talking you out of it.
Yeah. We'll circle back.
If you guys are live, stay. Don't move. Eagles game. Obviously, Nueby's got to give his take on the Eagles Lions. Biggest game of the weekend will be a huge handle. If you're watching on the replay on Sports Grid, thank you for being here. Have a phenomenal weekend. We'll talk to you guys coming up on Monday for BVB. The rest of you guys, bonus time. Okay, so you're telling me that Adam's letting you guys go and bet Jacksonville at home against the Chargers?
He was the one who had to sell me on the pick. He loves this play.
Oh,
God. I was like, what are we doing? I go, the reason why we didn't go 4-1 last week is because we blew a 19-point lead against Davis Mills, dude. Like we had Jacksonville and Houston last week, and he had to sell me on that one too. So I was like, explain to me why we have to be on this pick. And he made a really good.
Just stay off the game. Like
you could, but in a week that it's really hard to find 5 picks on the board. When he gave me his case, I was like, you know what? It kind of makes sense because I already felt when I looked at the game and saw the Chargers as 3-point road favorites. I'm not so sure that the Chargers defense that gets all this love is that much better than this Jags defense, who at home before that Seattle game, they had 3 wins, 3 covers, one of which was against the Kansas City Chiefs. So this is a team who has played really well at home. That wasn't enough to get me on them. When Berg broke down the fact that the Chargers have had to flip-flop weeks going east, west, east, west, east, west. Look at the Chargers schedule and the amount of travel that they've had to stack up. And it started to make sense to me now that they are heading into a bye week with all of this travel that's stacked up for them. In all of those trips back east, Matt, sure, they have won a decent amount of them. They haven't covered one single game on the East Coast yet. They haven't covered any of those games because the one against the Tennessee Titans, that was a 10-point spread. They don't end up covering that game against the Dolphins. Again, short spread. They win.
Hold on. They haven't covered on the East Coast. What? I don't think that. You sure that's accurate?
Well, what's look at their schedule real quick.
I mean, because Harbaugh and the Chargers, Harbaugh on the East Coast as a head coach in the NFL is 26-8 straight up and 24-9-1 against the spread. When he's on the East Coast or Central time zones, in the Eastern time zones, he's 15-5 against the number as a head coach.
So here we go. Chargers, boom, boom, boom. Chargers on the road. So this one, it's not, they're traveling because it was the 49ers. That one doesn't count. That's preseason that we're looking at there. Right. They end up beating the Raiders again, not a travel spot. They lose to the Giants this year in week 4 on the road. Next time they go back east, they were favorites against the Dolphins, but they were 3-point favorites. They win by 2 points. That's at the Dolphins. Titans, they were 10-point favorites, and they win by 7 against the Titans in Tennessee. So now this is
0-2. So they're 0-2 ATS this year. Okay, but they won
0-3 with the Giants game.
Okay, so 0-3 ATS. So wow, that's crazy. So he was 15-2 going into this year.
And then this year, maybe it's an outlier, maybe it's not, but 3 games and the thought of going back and forth. So if you look at how those travel spots went too, what was it? Week 1, home against Chiefs, then they go to Raiders. That's not a travel spot, but they probably drunk in Las Vegas. They come home to play the Broncos, then they go to New York, play the Giants. They come home, play the Commanders, then they go back east, they play the Dolphins. They come back home, they play the Colts. They stay there for 2 weeks. They go on the road again to Tennessee. They come back, they play the Steelers. So it has been boom, 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 boom.
I know, but the Chargers, here's a number for you. The Chargers, as a favorite off a night game, are 10-1 straight up over the last 11 games.
But if you want to,
10-1.
choose spots like that. Well, but again, so break down.
You're talking about travel. We're talking about what the spot of them off of night games are 10-1 the next week. They tend to play well on the East Coast, and I don't know. I think you guys are. That's a danger pick.
So
Chargers are nothing for me.
Off of night games, well, also off of Steelers games. If we want to get into weird subsets, they're 1-5-1 against the number the game after they play the Steelers. So when we're talking about strange subsets, 1-5-1 the game after the Chargers play the Steelers. The one that got it for me is typically I like betting on teams before the bye week because
Okay.
it's a focus spot. It's a let's get the job done. And then we get to hang out for a week. Surprisingly, since this team has gone to LA and a little bit before that, the Chargers 2-8-1 before a bye week. This is also a team that heading into the bye, they don't really have that bump and motivation. They're playing a team that, they just blew it against Davis Mills. I'm Justin Herbert. So this is an ugly
Davis
one.
Mills threw for 17 first downs on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Davis Mills, 17 first downs.
Once it was garbage time, though, right? Like, this is a team that clearly was just like they nearly blew it against the Raiders. And also, for what it's worth, Houston's been pretty damn good at home as well. They weren't good until that 8-minute stretch in the fourth quarter. I know it's gross. Again, this is one that I had to be sold on. But when the case was made about that travel spot and how poorly they've done against the spread, and now they're favorites against a team who's still viable in the division for all of their woes, Jaguars plus the spot home for a team that
Chargers are nothing for me. All right, so Seahawks Rams, it's game of the weekend. Lions Eagles is there too, but this is a divisional game, so it means more for the overall playoff picture. Who are you taking? Seahawks +3, Rams laying the 3.
I mean, what do the Seahawks have to do to finally get respect in the betting marketplace? You know what I mean? Like, that's the defense who's
should they be favored? You think it should be favored on the road against the Rams?
No, I don't think that it should be favored, but a full field goal feels a little bit strange. Now, I wouldn't bet this game simply because it's two teams who you don't know what version you're going to get. If you're arguing with what you've seen here with the Seahawks, they've been really good on the road. They've been subpar at home. When you're talking about the Rams, they've been a team who has, as of late, really seemed like they've gotten their part together. But, injuries starting to stack up. Puka Nacua being banged up. Yes, he's going to play, but not being 100%. This is one for me that will certainly be up on the screen, Matt, but I couldn't find much of a betting angle simply because both of them, they're going to be playoff teams. Both of them are exceeding expectations. The Seahawks much more so than the Rams, as the Rams were kind of a favorite heading here into the year. But it's such a close game, and it's such a good game. I mean, I broke down what plays I like. I typically like betting the dog shit games that reek rather than the ones that everyone's betting, that the line is going to be all the focus is on. I would rather be betting on Jameis Winston than trying to cap this game. Did you fall on something that you would actually bet in this game outside of props? The line feels right.
Stafford's 5-0 straight up against the Seahawks with the Rams. He hasn't lost yet. Seahawks are a great team on the road. If I had to bet it, it's +3 or nothing. I'm taking the points, and that's it. But I'm not betting this game. This is going to be a watch. Enjoy it as a football fan. Have a good time.
I think that's the way you have to play this game. This is, if you want to bet it, find some player props. But as far as side, total, both of these defenses are pretty solid too. I could see this thing being a divisional slobber knocker and being under the total too. So I couldn't make a cap on the side or total.
So JPC the fourth is a huge Lions fan. He's going, I can't bet it because of the fact that it's a huge game. So he's teasing it. He's giving the Lions 8.5, taking the total up to 53.5 and taking the under. That's how the Lion fan in the chat is betting this game. What's your handicap? Your Eagles, after a win against Green Bay, didn't look good, but they won. All that matters is they won. They won. And the Lions come in here. When the Lions are favored in prime time, they don't lose with Dan Campbell and Jared Goff. They're not favored here. They're dogs against the Eagles. Who wins?
Yeah, and surprisingly, in prime time, sure, they've been nice, but Sunday Night Football, I'm pretty sure, hasn't been too kind to the Lions. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I was scrolling and saw something about that. Now, as far as this game is concerned, around halftime of that Eagles and Packers game, Matt, I was like, man, I have to bet the Lions in this game. I mean, teasing them up is a no-brainer. That's a great bet. Taking them up to 8.5. So that was how I felt at halftime of the game. And then the game went on and continued, and I saw the new piece that they added, Jalen Phillips being an impactful player up front for the Philadelphia Eagles, which they haven't had really this entire season. Their best edge rusher was Zadarius Smith, who we talked weeks ago when we were in those fade spots for the Eagles about how that's not great if a guy who comes in chasing a ring says, I'm good. I don't want to be here. Since that point, things have settled down here a little bit. And really the big talk is A.J. Brown in the locker room, the detractions, things like that. Everything that A.J. Brown has said is correct. if you continue to not be able to put your stamp on games offensively, you are eventually going to lose. And what's a team that you need to have an offense against? It's this Lions team who just came off of putting up 44 points in the game that Dan Campbell is now the head coach, or is now the play caller, excuse me. Now, you're not calling plays against a banged up old Washington team anymore. You are going to be calling plays against Vic Fangio, who, however you feel about the Eagles, you can't argue that this guy is a top tier defensive coordinator in the league. His scheme is terrific, and they're going to be playing a quarterback in Jared Goff, who we saw 2 weeks ago. We were on the Vikings because we were like, Brian Flores against this offense, he'll be able to get pressure on Goff. If you breathe on Jared Goff in the first quarter, this offense becomes different. And Jared Goff is going to be playing in 31 degrees real feel, 29 mile per hour wind gusts, potentially in Philadelphia on Sunday. So at first I wanted to take the Lions, and I didn't want to be a homer. But as I dove into the game, if the pass rush that has finally come alive for the Eagles is here in this game, it's going to be tough for Jared Goff. Jared Goff, this is also going to be his first game at Lincoln Financial Field. Weird stat here with fans in attendance. The only other time he played there was in the COVID year. He's never had to play a night game in Philadelphia. We know we don't really like Goff outdoors as is. Yes, the running game is there, but I think the Eagles can counter that a little bit. So, homer or not, I landed on, I think the Eagles are the right side here. The market kind of agreed with it, taking it from 1 to 2.5. That's what was crazy to me, Matt, was when they were 1 point favorites, 1.5 point favorites. That made sense. As bad as they looked in that Packers game offensively, within minutes of that game ending, they were 2.5 point favorites, and it hadn't budged since then. So right away, it was market going in on them. There's no way they go to 3 because all the buyback that'll come on the Lions. I think Eagles by a field goal in this game. I think they end up beating the Lions on Sunday Night Football.
We'll end with this. I know if you guys are struggling to find a play, I think you just have to take the Chiefs. I mean, Mahomes is 18-1 straight up against. He's 18-1 against the Broncos. 18-1.
It's pretty good.
He just doesn't lose to the Broncos. He does not lose.
That's nearly perfect, one would say.
If you're I think if you're struggling to try to find some extra fifth pick on Circa, I think that's the play, is to take it with KC on that.
Yeah, I was eyeing KC as well. It just feels like that feels like too easy of a pick, and that's what pushed me off of it, because that was the one that I was campaigning for, was the exact same thing. Is, they've dominated. But here's the thing: is for the Chiefs, it's week 11. Is this a must-win game? Sure, maybe not. But the fact that it is a very important game for the Chiefs.
Oh, I think it's a must-win game.
Yeah,
I think it's a must-win game.
That's priced in, though. You know what I mean? Like, that's why they're 4-point favorites on the road in Denver.
But I think Bo Nix is not. I think that offense is not good. The offense is not good. I think the Chiefs' defense is going to eat them alive. I think it's a 10-point win.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Win and cover for Kansas City. Nueby, you're the best, bud. Thanks for the time. Appreciate you coming on.
Appreciate you, Matt. Go Pats.
Yeah, we'll talk to you. Go Birds later. That's Nueby joining us here on the Bostonian versus the Book every Friday. He stops on by talking sports with us. Good to get him on the program on that. Just if you guys are watching the show on Instagram, I know there's a bunch of people who are watching on Instagram. I will try to figure out how to fix the way it looks when a guest is on. So when I'm on solo on Instagram, it looks perfect. But when I am, because it's vertical. So StreamYard made this change that you now can broadcast vertically on certain platforms like Instagram. And so there's a vertical side. But when a guest is on, it's like smushed, like our faces are like plastered up against the screen. So it looks really funky. So I'm going to try to figure out a way to fix that coming up with that. So good stuff with Nueby. Let's make some bets for this very weekend. All right, Just the Picks is being brought to you by the Prop Bet Cheat Sheet with Betting Pros. You guys can use it this weekend. You can use it for the NBA as well. Download the Betting Pros app or go to bettingpros.com/props for the Prop Bet Cheat Sheet. You guys can go and check out the Prop Bet Cheat Sheet for daily prop value rankings based on projections. You can get the best odds for all major categories. In the NFL, it's passing, rushing, receiving, rebounding, scoring in the NBA, and points, rebounds, assists, more things along those natures. Use it now at bettingpros.com/props. or we're going to be downloading the Betting Pros app to use it today. All right, to the college game to start here for us. I am taking, where is that little cryon? Oh, there it is. I told you before, I'm going ahead and I'm laying it with Georgia. I think at home, I like Georgia a lot here, laying 6.5 up against Texas. I think Texas is going to have a couple tough series here where turnovers are highly likely for this offense. I'm not a believer in Texas. I like UGA at home laying 6.5. Same handicap for Georgia. I'm big on dogs in college football this week. Maybe it's stupid to do so, but Alabama has been wrecking people by nearly 20 points per game. They've won 8 games in a row. Ty Simpson's the best player on the field in this game. I like Alabama to get a big win here at home. Crimson Tide, I think you got to pay attention to what they're doing. There's 3 teams in the SEC. We'll talk about A&M here in a second, but the way that Bama is playing right now, really, really impressive. Oklahoma's offense just isn't going to be able to score enough against this Bama defense. I'm laying it with Alabama laying 6. And then I think A&M is going to annihilate South Carolina. I have said A&M is the best team in the country, both sides of the ball, offense and defense. I think they're going to go up against South Carolina. I think this is a name your score type game. And A&M has a chance because they need to start to prove that they should be ahead of Indiana or ahead of Indiana and Ohio State. So the numbers, the score, it's important. That score is important. They got to start to run some games up here. I like A&M big against South Carolina to go ahead and get a big win, blowing them out here coming up. For the international game, I think the Dolphins are legitimate in terms of having a chance to make some noise and make a run. I was impressed with them last week against the Bills. They were at home, but what do the Commanders have to play for? No Jaden Daniels. They've had so many injuries on that football team on both sides of the ball. Now they go to Spain to take on a Dolphins team that they're still playing inspired football, and making the postseason as a wild card is not impossible. They're going to have to be super hot, but they win that game last week. You got to win this game here. It's less than a field goal. Give me the Dolphins. And then if you're looking for a teaser play, I'm going to take the Bucs up to 12 and the Ravens down to 1.5. At +6 for Tampa up against the Bills. I disagree with Nueby. I'm getting Baker Mayfield as a dog. I like Baker Mayfield as a dog, period. Always. So Baker getting 12 points on the road against a Buffalo team that can't stop the run. I hope Bucky Irvin plays in that game, but even not, that the White and company can run the ball effectively, and Baker can run the ball effectively against that porous Bills defense. Bucs +12, and the Ravens are the hottest team in football. We're going to roll here with the Ravens at -1.5. Tease it down. Ravens against the Browns. Get another win for Baltimore as they keep this trek, trying to climb up the standings in the AFC North. Prop bet time. We'll go to the Bills game for it. I think this number is really low for Josh Allen. Josh Allen passing 214.5 yards. Whoa. This number is too low. Okay. I know the Bucs defense is really good. I know the pass rush is really good. I know that Josh Allen will be looking to run the ball a lot. But whoa, 214.5. And I like the Bucs to be leading this game. So I think Buffalo's going to have to throw the football. I think that number is too low. I like Josh Allen to go over 215.5 passing yards coming up on Sunday. If you're looking for a prop bet, I'm assuming that number is going to close much higher than it is right now, but I like it. Over 214 yards passing for Josh Allen coming up on Sunday up against the Bucs at home. We will skip news of the industry because I got to go meet Corbin coming up here at the top of the hour. I got to get in my car and head on over to Henderson to hopefully get us set up for BVB hats, t-shirts, hoodies, and more. We're hopefully going to establish the store coming up here next week, maybe, potentially. But before I go, I do have to give you a favorite thing about today because it's a pretty good one, and it's about damn time. It is time for the comeuppance for the one and the only Vegas Dave. He is finally going to have to be held to account. A judge ordered yesterday for Vegas Dave to repay a vacation rental agency in which he scammed $30.2 million. We may now see the end of Vegas Dave. We finally may have found a way to rid ourselves of that vermin, that guy, that thief, of what he has done to so many people as the OG Scandy Capper, the worst of the worst Scandy Capper, boiler room, liar. And he now has to pay $30.2 million to a vacation rental agency in which he scammed them out of that money. See ya. $30 million. Goodbye. Favorite thing about today? See you later. Happy trails to that guy. Later. Get out. My thanks to Chris Andrews. I apologize. Chris's cell phone always comes and goes out in and out whenever we're doing conversations, but it's listening to him is worth dealing with any technical issues that we may have to get Chris Andrews of the South Point on. Great to have Nueby back on a Friday. Fights on Friday as well. Enjoy the weekend. Should be a lot of fun. Full recap coming up on Monday's BVB. Full week, nothing. The week after for Thanksgiving, I'll tell you the schedule. It's going to be a little bit wonky due to holiday travel and whatnot, but we'll have a full 5 shows all next week on a Monday. Have a great weekend. Thank you for being here. Talk to you Monday for another episode of BVB.